welcome to my iteration 3 testing. We're going to be going over we're going to be going over iteration 3 and the test that created iteration 3. So iteration 3 was a final development. So although this is in the post-dev testing, this is almost the end of the game, and I'll explain why I say almost. All right. Before we begin testing, I just do want to point your attention out to these lines. These lines will be removed. They're just merely for development and to explain the line of sight mechanic, which I'll explain later. But yeah, so the only difference between this and the final product is that these lines will be removed, and that's just deleting one line of code. Cool. So first we're going to go on to C1, which is the collision with enemy AI. So when you collide with the enemy AI, the game carries out the enemy AI collision subroutine. So this means that when I collide with the enemy AI, I will just lose the game. It will send me to the game loss screen. So let's give this a go. And I've been sent to the game loss screen. Amazing. There is music playing during this whole time. So I'm going to show you here. But I'm just turning it off now for so I can speak. Actually, you know what? Let's enjoy the music. Okay, next is C2, which is escaping from enemy AI. So this means that the game stops chasing the player, the enemy stops chasing the player once I meet the conditions for it to stop chasing me. So the conditions for the enemy to stop chasing the player is I have to be more or equal to 300 pixels in a straight line from the player. I have to be 300 pixels or more in a straight line from the player. I have to be behind an object, and the player has to currently be triggered. So right now, if I go over to this far right side, you can see that so this would be perfect. If the shape was currently triggered and it was chasing me and it was this distance away, it wouldn't see me because, as you can see, all the lines are red. However, when it was green, it means it has a direct line of sight, which means that they would, if it was green and they were chasing me, they would be chasing me. So it's only when the lines are red that they wouldn't be chasing me, and that's this is the same technique they use in ray tracing to make lighting effects and stuff in bigger games, but I'm using it here to do enemy AI hit boost. It's like you look in a straight line, you can't see around corners. It's the same way. Yep, cool. So C2 is escaping from the enemy AI, so the game stops chasing the player. The player has to trigger the player before they start chasing it, and every time the player moves either left or right, there is a hitbox in front of the player. So currently, where my mouse is where the trigger box is, in a way. So it's always in front of the way the enemy is traveling in, and you can also tell by the direction the sprite. Oh, sorry, the sprite is moving in. So yeah, once I jump in front of it without touching it, it should start chasing me, and then I'll see if I can get away. Oh, sorry. No. So we'll wait until it turns around so I can take cover behind the walls over there. See, so now it is chasing me, as you can see. Its speed decreases and it's chasing me, and I get far away, I break line of sight, and it stops. If I trigger it again, and I just get decently far away from it, it will still keep chasing me. I need to break line of sight. Then obviously, if I'm too near, and even if I break line of sight, but I'm still too near, it is going to keep chasing me, and then eventually I'm going to lose. So yeah, so the enemy does stop chasing. So true. C2 is true. C3. So that test checked if the enemy was chasing the player, would stop chasing the player, and now I'm going to run the test to see the enemy chases the player. So a bit counterintuitive. Maybe the stop chasing the player test should have been after, but it is what it is. So will the enemy start chasing the player like we saw a few moments earlier? Yep, the enemy is going to start chasing the player. Amazing. Cool. The next test that we're going to have is C4, enemy oscillation, enemy AI oscillation. The enemy AI should oscillate. So currently the enemy AI is oscillating. They're moving back and forth between 2 points. So that's called an oscillation. Now I need to see, will it will the enemy AI oscillate properly, especially if the enemy AI is triggered, leaves its pattern of oscillation and starts chasing me. So now it's chasing me. I'm going to de-trigger it, and it's going to go back. It's moving back currently very slowly, and then it's now oscillating again because it has, in fact, returned to its original place. So this was an issue I was facing previously in my code, but I managed to fix it by creating two variables called self.beginning and self.at-beginning and self.blah, what was it? Something. Oops. Chase player. Yeah. And then the shape.triggered. But essentially, if it was at the beginning point, which is set to trigger at the beginning of the game, and it wasn't triggered, it would start moving right and left at a speed of 2. If it was chasing the player, it would only move at a speed of 1. And when it returning to its original point, it would move at a speed of 1. This is partly due because if it was moving at 2, the player would have no chance to get away. It would make it too difficult. And also, if it was moving at 2, then when chasing the player, it could affect the when it returns to original point, it has to reach a set amount of coordinates. If you're iterating by 1, then you know for a fact it has to pass through those coordinates. But if it's going at speed of 3, then it's going from the coordinates 3, 6, 9. So if the coordinate was at coordinate 7, it would never be able to get to 7 because it's jumping by 3. I could have added a buffer zone, but I decided, you know what, like it will make the game more realistic, like less impossible to beat, and so yeah. So cool, chase so that was the enemy AI oscillation. So it does in fact oscillate. Then C5, the enemy AI sprite direction. So this is the direction that the enemy is looking at. So when it's going right, the enemy is going to the right, and when it's going left, the enemy is going to the left. And this is true for all the different enemies. So yeah, this is passed. And then finally, C6, the enemy AI hitbox direction. So this ensures that the hitbox is only in the direction of movement. So as you can see, I'm jumping behind the enemy. Oh, okay, I triggered it there. I was jumping behind the enemy, and it couldn't get me. Now I'm going to jump behind the enemy on this side. So yeah, okay. So it doesn't trigger me. Doesn't get angry. However, if it is in front of it, then it does get angry. Perfect. Cool. Let's test some of the enemies at the top now. So if you give me a second, I will get to the top. Okay, so I've currently gone to the top now, and I'm going to drop down onto the moving platform, and okay, and it's not going to take my input. Okay, now it is. I was on the wrong tab. My bad. Right, I'm gonna wait until they go back. Boom. Okay, I'm down. Let's see if they do in fact start chasing me. If they start chasing me, their speed will notably decrease, and then they'll also start moving in the direction. So if we jump right in front of it, boom, this guy got me. I'm obviously near him. I'm going to run away, and then they're going back. It's going back to its normal oscillation. Perfect. So I have, in fact, so it is working. Let me try the very top one now. No, okay, I can trigger like that. That's even better, isn't it? The jumps are quite difficult. Meow meow meow. So yeah. So the game obviously has sound effects and stuff like that. And then this one finally, will it be triggered? Yeah, it was triggered. They both chased me. Perfect. All the AI work, every single AI in the game works. And yeah, so that means all of iteration 3 tests are valid and work. Thank you very much. And yeah, see you for post-development testing.